Okay, so now that we've finished up improving some of the basics of the gameplay of our system, in this section we're going to take a look at how to improve shooting in the game. So there's a couple of simple little things we can do to start off with to make our bullets feel more impactful and to make our game just feel a little bit more fun. So to start off with, the speed that we're shooting our bullets at the moment, with all our new bad guys coming running at us, it can feel a little bit slow. So what we're going to do is just we're going to adjust the time that we wait between each shot. So I'm just going to bring this down to 0.1, and just by adding a little bit more speed to the shooting, it massively improves how we feel about the game. It just, when you add that little bit more speed, it adds a little bit of urgency and adds a little bit more fun to the game. Most importantly, that's always the most important thing about all of this kind of stuff, is making the game feel fun to the player. Okay, so one other little thing we can do is change the size of the bullets that we're using. So in the art folder that we have down here, actually if I just drag one of the bullets into the scene from our prefab here, we pop it in there, we can see the size of the laser we're using. That looks fine, it's perfectly serviceable and usable. But in our art folder here, we have, if we go to AP set and drag it out to the side, we have a few different sizes of bullets. So what I'm going to use is the medium laser here. So if we click onto our laser small and just click and drag it into there like that, we see it changes to a bigger bullet immediately. I'm going to apply that change. And now that we're using a bigger kind of bullet, our little collider box is no longer big enough for this, so we're just going to adjust the size of that here. So our size, we're just going to drag it out to be a little bit longer and a tiny bit higher, not quite the full size of it because we don't want to go quite that big, just a little bit wider actually, just to about there. So it's almost the full size of the bullet itself, and we're going to hit apply, so that applies to all our bullets. And then I'm going to delete that one from the scene, and we'll hit play again. And we've got some bigger, beefier bullets. There's just immediately they feel a little bit better. They're not as tiny. You can see now that we're running along like this, we can see that they're shooting from side to side. We actually see there's a bit of an error here. We can see that the bullets are actually facing the wrong way. So that's another thing to consider, is your bullets can be fine when they're just a simple, I'm just going to stop this here. If we look at our assets here, I'll just go into the sprite editor. When there's a simple little shape like this, they can look perfectly normal when you're firing them either way. But now that we've added a bit of a tail to our bullet, suddenly you notice now it looks backwards when it's going the wrong way. So we're going to adjust that slightly in our code, but it's a very, very simple little fix. So we'll go into our scripts folder, go to our bullet controller. We'll load this up. Give it a second to open up MonoDevelop. Okay, so in our bullet controller script we've included in the project already, we have it determining how fast the bullet is moving. So if it has a positive move speed, so it's moving to the right, or a negative move speed and moving to the left, based on where it starts in relation to the player. So basically, if it starts on the right hand side of the player, it goes to the right. If it starts on the left hand side of the player, it goes to the left. So equally, what we can do is say, okay, well, if we want to start, I'm just going to wrap some curly brackets around this, because if we're starting to the right of the player, then we know it should be facing the correct way, which is the way it's facing already at the moment. But if we're starting to the left of the player, so if our transform position is less than the player's transform position, then we know that we should reflect our bullet around. And to do that, all we have to do is change the local scale on the X value to the opposite of the full value. So what we can do is just say our transform dot local scale is equal to a new vector tree, and then on the X value all we're going to say is minus transform dot local scale dot X. Now effectively what we could do is just set this to 1, because we know our bullets are going to have a local scale of X, Y, and Z will all be 1. But just for the sake of being accurate, we want to make sure, just in case we decide to adjust the size of our bullets for any random reason, we're going to have just transform.localscale.y for the y value, and transform.localscale.z. Oh, not local scale equals local scale.z. There we go. And we just hit our semicolon, and then we go back into the game. Let that compile for a second. And once it's finished compiling, we'll hit play here, and we should see now if we're firing that way, it shoot that way fine, and if we fire this way, we can see the tails of the bullets are all pointing exactly the way we want them to. Okay, so now that we've got some bigger bullets and we're kind of firing them more often, let's also add another tiny simple improvement to them and make them move a bit faster across the screen. Because again, it's just about making the bullets feel good. So we go to our bullet prefab for that, because the speed of our bullet is being controlled there. And down on the bullet controller script, we can just adjust the bullet speed. We'll put it up to 25, say, should be fine. And we'll hit play again. And now you can see the bullets are flying much faster. And again, it just feels that little bit better. It's just about those little tiny improvements that add up to making the whole thing feel much better.